C'est avec émotion que je souhaite aujourd'hui rendre hommage à Nancy Brown Negley comme président de l'association qui porte son nom. Personnalité exceptionnelle, elle a eu l'énergie et les moyens d'agir dans le monde et en particulier à Ménerbes qu'elle avait choisi pour y vivre une grande partie de l'année. Il est vrai que sa nature enthousiaste, toujours attirée par les arts, elle-même peignait, toujours curieuse de nouvelles rencontres, de nouvelles découvertes, l'a poussée à voyager beaucoup, mais aussi à recevoir à Tingry des amis et des esprits cultivés qui s'honoraient d'être reçus à l'occasion d'un souper, d'un concert ou d'une conférence à la manière des salons du XVIIIe siècle. À cet égard, elle attachait une grande importance à la qualité de sa table et elle avait fait venir plusieurs fois des chefs étoilés du Texas pour étonner ses invités. Si on devait résumer l'impression qu'elle donnait autour d'elle, c'était d'abord et toujours la générosité de son cœur. À l'époque où j'ai été élu député du Vaucluse, j'avais évoqué avec elle l'idée de créer une maison de la truffe et du vin dans l'hôtel d'Astier de Montfaucon qui était en ruine, si je devenais évidemment maire de Ménerbes. C'est donc grâce à Nancy et à sa présence dans le board du World Monument Fund de New York que la majorité du financement a été assurée, mais aussi la restauration grâce à elle de l'église, le pavage de la place de la mairie et surtout après la mort de Dora Maar, la création d'une maison pour les artistes à la manière de la Villa Médici de Rome. C'est ainsi qu'elle a soutenu de nombreux artistes et plusieurs associations locales, comme le musical du Luberon. Elle a parsemé dans Ménerbes, avec l'assentiment de la mairie, des sculptures qui surprennent les visiteurs et apportent ainsi une muséographie en plein air. Dans le même esprit, le jardin de Joe Downing est une petite merveille, étape de méditation avant d'atteindre le haut du village. Je dois à la vérité de dire que son exemplarité a été communicative chez de nombreux Ménerbiens d'adoption, résidents américains, anglais ou européens, qui ont fait des dons et ont participé ainsi à des travaux de restauration. Et comme par enchantement, grâce à Nancy Negley, il est devenu normal de participer à l'embellissement de Ménerbes en donnant en fonction de ses moyens au-delà des prélèvements obligatoires. J'espère qu'un jour la municipalité de Ménerbes inscrira son nom sur une rue, une place ou une salle de réunion alors qu'elle n'a jamais rien sollicité. C'est d'ailleurs pour cette raison que j'ai souhaité que la République honore Nancy de son vivant et que j'ai eu le plaisir de lui remettre les insignes de chevalier dans l'ordre de la Légion d'honneur et de chevalier dans l'ordre des arts et des lettres. Que sa famille, ses enfants, ses petits-enfants, arrière-petits-enfants nés ou à naître, soient fiers de Nancy Brown Negley et que nous soyons tous reconnaissants pour sa vie exemplaire.
Hi, this is Oni Soriano and I work for Mrs. Negley for almost 15 years here in Hotel Tingry. She is the best employer I ever had and she will always stay in my heart.
I'm Laurie Fendrick. I'm a painter and a writer, and my husband is Peter Plagans, who is also a painter and a writer. We were very fortunate to have had two fellowships at the Dora Maar House, the first in 2009 and the second in 2017. In both instances, we were extremely productive, and I will say after the 2009 fellowship, I had a one-person exhibition of the drawings I made at the Dora Maar House that fall. So that was a very direct product of that wonderfully intense summer. The second fellowship was in 2017, and my husband and I had planned to write a book together. We made great headway on it. As it turned out, the book did not come to fruition, but we were able to use huge parts of it for other projects that we've tackled since then. So I am eternally grateful to Nancy Brown Negley for setting up this fellowship and giving us this marvelous opportunity 2 times. Thank you.
Hi. I was thinking of all the different memories I have of Mrs. Negley and the huge influence that she's had on my life. And I remembered one story I thought I would tell. it was really near the beginning of when I started to work at the Dora Maar House for her. That would be in 2007. And I had to go up to Hotel Tengri to see her for some reason. And after we talked, I was walking out the door and I commented that she had this beautiful orchid in this pot. And I said, "Oh, that's such a lovely orchid." And she reached over and took the pot and handed it to me. And she said, "It's yours, take it," which I think is emblematic of her generosity. And that orchid I brought home and I put in the window of my kitchen where I washed my dishes. And it has bloomed continuously. And it has had moments when I thought, oh, maybe it's its last legs, and then it just comes back. It's been sitting there on my window since that day, over 16 years ago. And I think of her when I look at it, when it flowers again with beautiful white blossoms, and I think, oh, there's Nancy's orchid. And it's a gorgeous reminder of her every day of my life as I do my dishes, of how generous and how much her generosity and wonderful spirit has added to my life.
I met Nancy Negley in the late 1990s at the bequest of Peter Marzio, who was the director of the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. I was the director of the Glassell School at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, and she was on the board of the Lacoste School here in the south of France, and that we were going through a transition, and he wanted me to work with her towards the board meeting that was going to be held in Houston in order to be able to help her express her position, her opinion. She was feisty, she loved the south of France, she was spirited, and she was a sweetheart. I just really enjoyed working with her, and I found her very admirable in how much passion she showed for the arts. A few years later, when she started to work towards a residency program at Maison Dora Maar, I was again brought in to help advise with a number of people from the museum on how to run a residency program, what a residency program might be, and again, I just was impressed with the spirit. And in between those two moments, I also saw her exhibition at Meredith Long. The color, the drama in the color, the strength of the landscape here in the south of France had really affected her painting. And what impressed me always most about Nancy was her just absolute passion and her willfulness to fulfill that passion. She was a powerhouse. I really appreciated what a bright and shining star she was.
Nancy Brown Negley's creation of the Dora Maar House and the fellowships that so many of us valued were very, very special. The Museum of Fine Arts award-winning exhibition and book, War Photography, Armed Conflict and Its Aftermath, were crystallized in that precious month at the Dora Maar House. Those of us who were involved in the project will be forever grateful for her understanding of what Virginia Woolf called time in a room of one's own, and the Dora Maar House was exactly that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zavia Karner, and I'm delighted to be included in this tribute to Mrs. Negley. She made a huge difference in my life, at least definitely in my work. I started writing this book as a resident in the Dora Maar House, and it was fabulous. There's something about being in a very beautiful environment that really kind of brings out your creativity. And so I can't thank the Dora Maar House and Nancy Negley enough. I only met her once, and I was telling her how grateful I was, and she said, well, now it's up to you to carry on the support of the arts. So I'll do that in my own special way, and I hope you'll join me in doing so too. All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is George Howe, husband and lifetime partner of Catherine Howe. Catherine is unable to participate in recording a tribute for Nancy, but we very much wish to honor Nancy for her generosity and expansive vision to create the institution that became Maison Dora Maar and the Nancy B. Negley Artist Residency Program. After a lengthy flight to Paris, train to Avignon, and rental car drive to Ménerbes, we got our first glimpse of the Dora Maar House and of Nancy B. Negley. We were speechless when we saw what Nancy had done just a few years before to restore and upgrade the house to the exquisite, spacious, and graceful space that you see today. However, as Nancy wanted to impart to Catherine her vision for an artist residency program as soon as possible, she invited us to walk with her and her little Jack Russell Terrier on a fast-paced walk around the peripheric road encircling the village. We could barely keep up with her. Thus, the vision, infused with a substantial dose of Nancy's energy, began to grow. Catherine is forever grateful to Peter Marzio, to Gwen Strauss, and especially to Nancy B. Negley for acting on her dream and for supporting hundreds of artists and writers to share their craft worldwide.
One of my fondest memories of my grandmother is her love of travel and her desire for her grandchildren to join her. I had truly novel experiences with her that I never would have had with anyone else. They were unique to Nana, and I'll forever be grateful for her lust for life and her willingness to share that. And it surely made an imprint on me. I miss and love Nana very much.
My name is Frank Steiner, and my wife, who unfortunately died before, is Gelinde, and she plays also a role in what I'm telling. One day, Nancy asked the string quartet of my wife, this was around 2002 or so, to stay in the Dora Maar House for 2 months if she wanted. And they would play rehearsal and gave concerts, and I think this was the first time that the Dora Maar House was used as a residence of artists. This was long before the foundation. And another year later, one of the musicians could not come, and so I invited the great grandson of Einstein, who is Paul Einstein, a violinist, and they played very nicely music. Also, it was before the kitchen. They played there in the Dora Maar House. It was a very nice event.
Voila.